Silent watchers. The Arxan High Command had watched Earth for centuries, cataloging what they believed to be a primitive civilization barely worth noting. Their massive surveillance ships, cloaked in technology that made them invisible to conventional detection methods, hovered at the edges of the solar system. They recorded, analyzed, and dismissed humanity's fumbling steps into space with cool disdain. Admiral Ixel, commander of the Arxan surveillance fleet, stood before the holographic display showing Earth's major population centers. His crystalline eyes reflected the blue glow of the planet below as he prepared his regular report to the High Council. Species shows minimal advancement in space capabilities, he dictated. Primitive chemical rockets, no evidence of faster-than-light research. Military technology remains confined to planetary warfare. He paused, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among his kind. Recommendation: maintain minimal observation. Species poses no threat to Arxan interests. But deep below Earth's surface, in bunkers shielded from even the most advanced alien scanning technology, humanity had been preparing. They had detected the Arxan ships decades ago, using methods that the aliens had never considered possible. While the Arxan saw only what humanity wanted them to see, Earth's unified defense forces had been building something unprecedented. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the heart of Facility Zero, Earth's most secret military installation, watching crews prepare the first of humanity's true warships. The UEA's Hyperion gleamed under the harsh lights of the underground dock, its quantum armor absorbing and redirecting any scanning attempts. It was just one of hundreds of similar vessels hidden in facilities across the globe. Status report. She called out to her chief engineer, Michael Okonjo, who was supervising the final calibrations of the ship's main weapons system. All systems nominal, Doctor, Michael replied, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. The quantum drive is stabilized, and the phase cannons are reading at 100% efficiency. She's ready. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of 2 decades of preparation settling on her shoulders. When humanity had first detected the alien observers, the world's governments had made an unprecedented decision. Instead of panicking or revealing their knowledge, they had chosen to prepare in secret. The Arxan's arrogance had given Earth the greatest advantage possible, the element of surprise. Message from command, her AI assistant announced. The Arxan fleet is moving. Sarah's heart rate quickened. For centuries, the alien ships had maintained their distant vigil. Any change in their behavior could signal the moment humanity had been preparing for. Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father and commander of Earth's hidden fleet, appeared on the main screen. His expression was grave. They're launching probes toward the inner solar system. Multiple signatures, headed for Earth, Mars, and Venus. Intel suggests they're planning a closer inspection of our capabilities. They're getting curious, Sarah mused. Why now? Our quantum communications network went fully online last week, James replied. We thought our shielding was perfect, but they might have detected something. A shadow, an echo, something that made them wonder. Sarah turned to look at the Hyperion. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, a fusion of technologies that the Arxan would consider impossible. Quantum drives that didn't require massive energy signatures, weapons that could pierce any known defense, and most importantly, stealth systems that turned the vessels into ghosts. Should we move the fleet into defensive positions? She asked. James shook his head. Not yet. Let them come closer. Let them think they're still in control. The closer they get, the more effective our response will be. Throughout the facility, crews moved with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this moment thousands of times. Humanity's secret fleet numbered over 500 vessels, each more advanced than anything the Arxan could imagine. While the aliens had grown complacent in their technological superiority, humanity had been forced to innovate in ways they had never considered possible. The probes entered the inner solar system 3 days later. Sarah watched their progress from the Hyperion's bridge, now fully crewed and ready for launch. The alien devices were impressive, bristling with sensors, and protected by energy shields that would have seemed like magic to the primitive civilization the Arkson thought they were observing. "They're scanning everything," Michael reported from his station. "But they're not finding what they're not looking for. The quantum shroud is holding perfectly." The Arkson probes moved methodically, scanning Earth's visible military installations, satellite networks, and space stations. They recorded the chemical rockets, the primitive weapons, the seemingly limited defensive capabilities. Everything they saw confirmed their long-held beliefs about humanity's technological level. But they didn't see the quantum transmission nodes hidden in plain sight across the planet. They didn't detect the energy signatures of the hidden fleet, masked by technology that worked on principles the Arkson had never discovered. And most importantly, they didn't realize that every moment of their investigation was being analyzed and predicted by Earth's quantum AI networks. "They're completing their survey," Sarah announced to the bridge crew. "Based on their patterns, they'll report back to their fleet in approximately 6 hours. And then?" Michael asked, though everyone knew the answer. "And then we wait," Sarah replied. "We wait for them to make their decision, to either dismiss us again." She turned to look at her crew, seeing the same mix of anticipation and determination in their eyes that she felt, or to make the mistake of thinking we're easy prey. In his command ship, Admiral Ixel reviewed the probe data with growing confusion. Something was wrong. The readings were perfect, too perfect. Every scan showed exactly what they expected to see, without a single anomaly or unexpected reading. In his centuries of surveillance experience, he had never seen such clean data. "Analysis complete," his science officer reported. "All readings confirm previous assessments. No significant technological advancement detected." Ixel's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "Expand the scan parameters. Look for anything unusual in their quantum signature readings." Quantum signatures. The science officer's crystalline eyes flickered in surprise. "The species has shown no knowledge of quantum mechanics beyond theoretical." "Do it anyway," Ixel commanded. Something deep in his genetic memory was warning him. The humans were too perfect in their primitiveness, too consistent in their limitations. The new scans would take days to complete. As the Arkson ships began their more detailed analysis, the crews of Earth's hidden fleet continued their preparations. In underground bases across the planet, quantum drives hummed to life, weapons systems were charged, and soldiers took their positions. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon, the Arkson would learn that they weren't the only ones who had been watching and waiting. They would learn that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to surprise those who underestimated it. And in the depths of Facility Zero, Sarah Chen looked up at the Hyperion's gleaming hull and smiled. The real show was about to begin. The first strike. The Arkson's expanded scans tore through the solar system like invisible lightning, probing deeper than ever before. For 3 days, their advanced sensors searched for anything that might explain Admiral Ixel's unease. On the 4th day, they found something that shouldn't have existed. "Anomaly detected," the science officer reported, their crystalline eyes pulsing with confusion. "Quantum fluctuation in Earth's polar region. Duration, 0.03 microseconds." Ixel leaned forward in his command chair. "Show me." The holographic display materialized, showing a brief energy spike that defied conventional physics. It was tiny, almost insignificant, but its very existence challenged everything the Arkson thought they knew about human capabilities. "Impossible," Ixel muttered. "They can't have quantum technology. They're centuries away from even understanding the basic principles." But the evidence was there, haunting in its implications. Either their sensors were malfunctioning, something that had never happened in the history of Arkson surveillance, or the humans had been hiding capabilities far beyond their apparent technological level. In Facility Zero, Sarah Chen watched the alien scans with growing tension. "They found a leak in the quantum shroud," she reported to her father, near the Antarctic facility. Admiral James Chen's holographic image nodded gravely. It was bound to happen eventually. The question is, what will they do with this information? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. The Arxan High Council, upon receiving Ixal's report, made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. If the humans had somehow developed quantum technology in secret, they needed to be contained immediately. Multiple ships detected leaving the Arxan fleet. Michael announced from his station on the Hyperion. Configuration matches their heavy cruiser class. They're on an intercept course with Earth. Sarah straightened in her command chair. How many? 3 cruisers, each carrying approximately 50 smaller craft. Estimated arrival time: 6 hours. Around the world, hidden sensors tracked the approaching Arxan vessels. The alien ships made no attempt to hide their approach. Why should they? As far as they knew, Earth had no way to detect them, let alone resist. Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the quantum comm network to all hidden facilities. Operation Ghostlight is now in effect. All ships prepare for immediate launch. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Sarah turned to her crew. Battle stations. Prepare for emergency surface breach. The Hyperion's quantum drive hummed to life, its energy signature masked by technologies the Arxan couldn't even imagine. Throughout the massive underground facility, other ships powered up their systems. Decades of preparation were about to be put to the test. High above Earth, the Arxan cruisers moved into attack position, their weapon systems charged, preparing to deliver a warning to the primitive civilization below. The plan was simple: demonstrate overwhelming force, demand surrender and technological submission, and establish direct control over human development. Admiral Ixal stood on his bridge, mandibles clicking in anticipation. Target their primary military installations and space launch facilities. Minimal casualties. We want them cowed, not destroyed. The first Arxan energy beams lanced toward Earth's surface. They expected their weapons to tear through the planet's primitive defenses like paper. Instead, they hit quantum shields that shouldn't have existed, their energy dispersing harmlessly across barriers made of theoretical science. Impossible, Ixal's science officer exclaimed. They have planetary shields, but our scans. Before they could process this revelation, the ground beneath the targeted military bases began to crack. Massive doors disguised as natural terrain slid open, and humanity's hidden fleet rose from its underground berths. The Hyperion led the first wave, its quantum drives propelling it from 0 to attack velocity in seconds. Behind it, dozens of other ships emerged from hidden facilities across the globe. The Arxan cruisers' sensors screamed with data that contradicted everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. Multiple vessels detected. Ixal's tactical officer shouted. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures impossible to classify. Sarah's voice carried across the quantum comm network to all Earth ships. Remember your training. Formation Delta. Target their primary weapon systems first. Don't let them regroup. The human fleet moved with precision that spoke of years of drilling. Phase cannons fired, their beams ignoring Arxan shields as if they didn't exist. The alien cruisers, designed to fight conventional weapons, found themselves facing technology that operated on principles they had never encountered. Shields failing. Ixal's damage control officer reported. Their weapons, they're phasing through our defenses. The Arxan launched their fighter squadrons, but the smaller craft faced the same problems as their motherships. Human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of normal space, making targeting impossible. Quantum-guided weapons found gaps in alien defenses that shouldn't have existed. This is impossible, Ixal muttered, watching his mighty cruisers take hit after hit. They were primitive. We watched them for centuries. How could they have hidden this? The battle lasted less than 30 minutes. When it was over, 2 Arxan cruisers were crippled, their weapons and engines disabled by precise strikes. The third, Ixal's command ship, remained largely intact, a deliberate choice by the human fleet. Sarah's voice echoed through space, broadcasting on all frequencies. Arcs vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Hyperion. Your ships are disabled. Your fighters are defeated. You will power down your remaining weapons and prepare to receive representatives of Earth's government. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Ixal's response came through. How? How did you hide this from us? You saw what you expected to see, Sarah replied. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered we might be more than we appeared. That was your first mistake. Don't make another one. As Earth's fleet surrounded the defeated Arxan ships, Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. This was only the beginning. The Arxan would return with a larger force once they realized what had happened. But humanity had shown that it was ready. More than ready. In his command ship, Admiral Ixal stared at the holographic display showing the human fleet. The vessels were beautiful in their design, incorporating principles that his scientists had deemed impossible. They had watched Earth for centuries, thinking they were observing a primitive species, never realizing they were looking at a civilization that had long since surpassed them in ways they couldn't imagine. The game had changed. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity had just announced its presence on a galactic stage in a way that no one would ever forget. Battle lines. News of the battle spread through the Arxan Empire at quantum speeds. The High Council, gathered in their crystalline chambers on their homeworld, received the battle recordings with stunned silence. For the first time, in 10,000 years of absolute dominance, an inferior species had not only resisted them, but had decisively defeated their forces. Show it again, demanded High Counselor Zex, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation. The holographic display replayed the emergence of Earth's fleet, their impossible movements, their weapons that ignored Arxan defenses as if they were made of vapor. How many ships do they have? Asked another counselor. Unknown, replied the military analyst. Our initial detection counted several hundred vessels, but their quantum signature masking technology makes exact numbers impossible to determine. They could have thousands. In Earth orbit, the Hyperion maintained its position near the captured Arxan cruisers. Sarah Chen stood in the diplomatic chamber, watching as Admiral Ixal was escorted in by Earth security forces. The alien commander's crystalline form seemed dimmer now, his previous arrogance replaced by cautious respect. You understand, Sarah began, that we've known about your presence for decades. Every scan, every probe, every observation you made. We were watching you watch us. Ixal's mandibles clicked softly. Impossible. Our stealth technology was effective against conventional detection methods, Sarah interrupted. But we haven't used conventional methods for a very long time. While you were watching our chemical rockets, we were studying your quantum signatures. While you dismissed our primitive satellites, we were reverse engineering your technology from the traces you left behind. The alien commander's crystalline eyes pulsed with realization. The quantum fluctuation we detected was deliberate, Sarah smiled. We knew you'd eventually detect something. We wanted to see how you'd react. Your response told us everything we needed to know about your intentions toward Earth. Deep in Arxan space, massive fleet movements were already underway. The Empire had never suffered such a humiliation, and their response would be overwhelming. Thousands of warships, gathered from across their controlled systems, formed up for what they believed would be a swift and decisive punitive action. But Earth was ready. In the Kuiper Belt, where the Arxan believed there was nothing but ice and rock, the bulk of humanity's fleet waited. The ships were gathered around massive structures that the alien scans had never detected, quantum gates capable of instantaneous travel across vast distances. Admiral James Chen's voice echoed through the quantum network. All ships, battle positions. The Arxan fleet will arrive within 48 hours. This is what we've prepared for. This is humanity's moment. The human fleet had advantages that the Arxan couldn't comprehend. While the aliens rely on brute force and overwhelming numbers, humanity had developed technologies based on principles that the Arxan had never discovered. The quantum gates were just the beginning. "Show me the tactical display," Sarah ordered, back on the Hyperion's bridge. The holographic map materialized, showing the approaching Arxan armada. Thousands of ships, moving in traditional combat formations, unknowingly heading straight into humanity's trap. "They still think in linear terms," Michael observed from his station. "Three-dimensional space, conventional weapons, traditional tactics. They haven't figured out what we can really do." Sarah nodded. "And that's our advantage. Initialize the quantum field generators. All ships, prepare for phase shift operations." The human fleet had developed the ability to partially phase their ships out of normal spacetime, making them nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons. The technology required incredible precision and coordination, but it gave them an edge that the Arxan couldn't match. The first shots of the main battle were fired 20 hours later. The Arxan fleet, confident in their overwhelming numbers, launched a massive barrage of energy weapons. They expected to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer firepower. Instead, they watched in disbelief as their weapons passed harmlessly through human ships that seemed to flicker in and out of reality. The return fire was devastating. Human phase cannons ignored Arxan shields, targeting critical systems with surgical precision. "Impossible," the Arxan fleet commander broadcast. "Their ships are violating the laws of physics." "No," Sarah replied across the command channel. "We're just operating on laws you haven't discovered yet." The battle spread across the solar system. Human ships appeared and disappeared through their quantum gates, striking from unexpected angles, refusing to engage in the type of conventional combat that the Arxan had mastered over millennia. But the aliens were not without resources. They began to adapt, adjusting their tactics, trying to predict where the human ships would appear. Some of their shots found their marks, and human vessels fell. The battle was far from one-sided. "Multiple hits on the quantum gate network," Michael reported. "They're learning, trying to cut off our mobility advantage." Sarah gripped her command chair as the Hyperion phased through another barrage of Arxan fire. "They're desperate. They know if they don't win here, everything changes. The balance of power, their empire's authority, their technological supremacy, it all hinges on this battle." The fighting continued for hours. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as human quantum technology clashed with Arxan conventional weapons. The solar system became a graveyard of broken ships, both human and alien. But gradually, inevitably, humanity's technological edge began to tell. The Arxan couldn't adapt fast enough to counter weapons and defenses that operated on principles they didn't understand. Their formations began to break. Their coordinated attacks became desperate individual actions. "Their main fleet is retreating," Michael announced. "Quantum signatures show they're preparing for faster-than-light jump." Sarah opened a channel to all ships. "Let them go. They've learned what they needed to learn." As the surviving Arxan ships flood the solar system, humanity had proven something that would forever change the galaxy. They had shown that technological advancement didn't always follow predictable paths, that apparent primitives could harbor devastating secrets, and that assumptions of superiority could lead to catastrophic defeats. The Battle of Sol, as it would come to be known, marked humanity's emergence as a galactic power. But it was only the beginning. The Arxan would return, and next time they would be better prepared. The real war was just beginning. Admiral Ixel, watching the battle recordings in his diplomatic containment chamber, finally understood the truth. The humans hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had developed it in ways that the Arxan had never imagined possible. They had taken different paths, asked different questions, and found answers that challenged everything the Arxan thought they knew about the universe. The galaxy would never be the same. Turning point. The aftermath of the Battle of Sol sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Arxan Empire, for the first time in its history, was forced to confront a truth they had never considered. They were no longer the undisputed masters of advanced technology. In the weeks that followed, their entire understanding of the universe, and their place in it, began to crumble. Sarah Chen stood in Earth's newly revealed Quantum Command Center, watching holographic displays showing Arxon fleet movements across hundreds of light years. Their retreat had been swift, but not chaotic. The aliens were regrouping, adapting, preparing for what would come next. They're studying everything they recorded during the battle, Michael reported, analyzing the quantum data streams. Every engagement, every weapon's signature, every phase shift. They're learning. Good, Sarah replied. We expected them to. That's why we only showed them what we were prepared for them to see. The truth was that humanity had held back during the Battle of Seoul. The quantum phase technology, impressive as it was, represented only a fraction of Earth's true capabilities. Deep beneath the surface of Pluto, in a facility that even most of Earth's military didn't know existed, the real work was continuing. Admiral James Chen's hologram materialized in the command center. The Arxon High Council has requested a formal diplomatic meeting. They're sending their highest-ranking officials. A genuine desire for peace, Sarah asked. Or a delaying tactic? Both probably, her father replied. Their empire is built on technological superiority. We've shaken their foundation. They need time to understand what that means for their future. But time was something the Arxon were rapidly running out of. Across their empire, subject species who had watched the Battle of Seoul through quantum transmissions were beginning to question their overlords' invincibility. Rebellions sparked on a dozen worlds, inspired by humanity's victory. In the Arxon High Council chambers, panic was setting in. The humans must be contained, High Counselor Zex declared. Not just defeated. Understood. How did they develop these technologies without us noticing? What else are they hiding? The diplomatic meeting was set for neutral territory, a space station constructed specifically for the purpose at the midpoint between Earth and Arxon space. The Hyperion led the human delegation, accompanied by ships that deliberately showcased technologies the Arxon had already witnessed. No need to reveal new surprises. Yet, Sarah stood in the station's grand chamber, face to face with the Arxon High Council representatives. Their crystalline forms towered over the human delegates, but their traditional intimidation tactics felt hollow now. We are prepared to offer Earth membership in the Empire, the lead counselor announced. Full technology sharing, protected status, privileged position among. No, Sarah interrupted simply. We're not interested in joining your empire. We're here to discuss the terms of your withdrawal from human space and the recognition of Earth's independence. The counselor's crystalline forms flickered with shock. No species had ever rejected membership in their empire. It was unthinkable. You don't understand, another counselor began. The empire brings order, stability. We understand perfectly, Sarah countered. Your empire brings technological stagnation. You've ruled so long you've stopped innovating. When was the last time you discovered a truly new principle of physics? Developed a technology that wasn't just an improvement on existing designs? The silence that followed was deafening. The Arxon had indeed become comfortable in their superiority, focusing on refining what they knew rather than exploring new possibilities. But while the diplomats talked, both sides prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The Arxon began retrofitting their ships with countermeasures against quantum phase technology. They developed new sensors, new weapons, new tactics. What they didn't know was that Earth had anticipated this. In the Pluto facility, Dr. Elena Santos, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stood before a device that would change everything again. The quantum consciousness matrix is stable, she reported to Admiral Chen. We can begin integration with the fleet whenever you give the word. The matrix represented humanity's next leap forward. Ships that could not just phase through space, but actually think in quantum terms, predicting and reacting to threats before they manifested. It was technology so advanced that even suggesting its possibility would have been considered madness by the Arxon. Back at the diplomatic station, the negotiations reached their inevitable impasse. The Arxon could not accept a truly independent Earth, and humanity would not accept anything less. You leave us no choice, the lead counselor declared. We cannot allow such power to exist outside Imperial control. Sarah had expected this. Look at your tactical displays, she suggested calmly. Look carefully. The Arxan delegates accessed their quantum feeds and froze. While they had been negotiating, human ships had appeared throughout their empire. Not just dozens or hundreds, but thousands. They had used the diplomatic delay to deploy their entire fleet through the quantum gate network. That's impossible, a counselor whispered. The energy requirements alone. As I said, Sarah replied, you've stopped innovating. Every principle you think you understand about quantum mechanics, every limitation you believe is unchangeable. We've moved beyond them. This is an act of war, the lead counselor declared. No, Sarah corrected. This is a demonstration. Every one of those ships is positioned near a critical Imperial facility. We could end your empire right now if we chose to. Instead, we're giving you a choice. Adapt or fall. The Arxan delegates conferred frantically. Their entire strategic position had been upended in a matter of moments. The humans hadn't just matched their technology. They had surpassed it in ways that seemed to defy reality itself. What are your terms? The lead counselor finally asked, their crystalline form dim with resignation. Sarah activated a holographic display showing a new map of the galaxy, recognition of Earth's independence, withdrawal from these designated sectors, and most importantly, a fundamental change in how your empire operates. No more subjugation of lesser species, no more technological suppression. It's time for the galaxy to grow beyond your control. As the Arxan delegates realized the full implications of their situation, a new signal appeared on the quantum networks. The ships in the Pluto facility were launching, each one equipped with the quantum consciousness matrix. They moved in ways that even Earth's previous vessels couldn't match, their actions guided by intelligence that operated on quantum principles. The next phase of the conflict was about to begin. But this time, it wouldn't be fought with weapons. It would be fought with ideas, with innovation, with the fundamental understanding of what was possible in the universe. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity would lead the way. New Dawn. 5 years after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had transformed in ways that even humanity hadn't fully anticipated. The quantum revolution, as it came to be known, had shattered more than just the Arxan Empire's military dominance. It had broken the chains of technological stagnation that had bound galactic civilization for millennia. Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood on the observation deck of Earth's new quantum diplomatic center, watching representatives from 100 different species arrive through the quantum gate network. The crystalline forms of the Arxan moved alongside the energy beings of the Tsar Collective and the silicon-based Duraxians, species that had once been subjects of the Empire, now standing as equals. Quite a change from our first contact, Michael noted, joining her at the window. Now Earth's chief of quantum integration, he had been instrumental in helping other species understand and adopt human innovations. They'd surprised us too, Sarah replied. Once freed from imperial restrictions, some of these species have developed technologies we never imagined. It was true. The fall of the Arxan Empire's technological monopoly had unleashed a wave of innovation across the galaxy. The Tsar Collective had developed new forms of energy manipulation. The Duraxians had revolutionized quantum computing. Even the Arxan themselves, forced to compete rather than dominate, had begun to rediscover their capacity for innovation. In the main chamber of the Diplomatic Center, Dr. Elena Santos presented the latest breakthrough in quantum consciousness technology. The assembled delegates watched in awe as she demonstrated systems that could predict and prevent conflicts before they began, coordinate disaster response across multiple star systems, and facilitate understanding between radically different forms of consciousness. The key was never the technology itself, Elena explained to the gathered representatives. It was our willingness to question everything we thought we knew. Every species here has a unique perspective on the universe. When we combine those perspectives, we discover new possibilities. The Arxan delegation, led by the former High Counselor Zex, had undergone perhaps the most remarkable transformation. Their crystalline forms now pulsed with colors that reflected their emotional states, a change that would have been considered heretical under their old regime. "We were wrong," Zex announced to the assembly. "For 10,000 years, we believed that our way was the only way. We thought technological progress had to be controlled, measured, restricted. The humans showed us that true advancement comes from freedom, the freedom to question, to explore, to fail, and to try again." But the peace wasn't perfect. On the edges of known space, remnants of the old empire still clung to their beliefs in superiority and control. The Quantum Consciousness Network regularly detected attempts to rebuild the technologies of dominance. "They're planning something," Michael reported during a private briefing. "The Imperial remnants have been gathering resources, building ships that combine their old technology with some of our quantum innovations." Sarah nodded. She had expected this, and our response. "Already in motion," Elena answered, activating a holographic display. It showed Earth's latest development, ships that weren't just guided by quantum consciousness, but were quantum consciousness, vessels that could think, adapt, and evolve in real time. "The Quantum Entity Initiative," Elena explained. "We've moved beyond merely using quantum mechanics. We're becoming one with it." The implications were staggering. These new ships weren't just weapons or tools. They were a new form of life, born from the marriage of human consciousness and quantum reality. They represented the next step in both technological and spiritual evolution. When the Imperial remnants finally launched their attack, they found themselves facing something they couldn't comprehend. The quantum entity ships didn't fight in any conventional sense. They simply altered reality around the attacking fleet, transforming weapons into harmless light, converting warships into peaceful exploration vessels. "We could have done this from the beginning," Sarah explained to a stunned Zex. "But you had to understand war's futility on your own. True peace doesn't come from superior firepower. It comes from superior understanding." The former High Counselor's crystalline form pulsed with revelation. "This was your plan all along. The quantum phase technology, the consciousness matrix. They were just steps leading to this." Sarah smiled. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology. It was our ability to imagine something better. We saw the galaxy you had built, a galaxy of masters and servants, of technological haves and have-nots, and we imagined something different. The quantum entity ships became the foundation of a new galactic order. They served as mediators, explorers, and guardians, ensuring that no species would ever again dominate another through technological superiority. But more importantly, they became teachers, helping each civilization discover its own unique path to advancement. 20 years after humanity's first revelation of their true capabilities, the galaxy had become unrecognizable to those who had known it before. The quantum gates connected thousands of worlds. Species that had once been bitter enemies now collaborated on projects that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. In the heart of the Quantum Diplomatic Center, a new monument was unveiled. It showed a simple chemical rocket alongside the most advanced quantum entity ship. Below it, an inscription in 100 different languages read, "Progress is not measured by the distance between these vessels, but by the journey taken to imagine the second from the first." Sarah Chen, her hair now gray but her eyes still sharp, touched the monument gently. "We did it, Dad," she whispered, thinking of her father who hadn't lived to see this day. "We showed them a better way." Above Earth, the quantum entity ships danced in patterns that defied conventional physics, their consciousness intertwined with the very fabric of space-time. They were no longer just humanity's creation. They belonged to all sentient beings who dared to imagine something greater than themselves. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson. True power lies not in the ability to destroy or dominate, but in the courage to imagine and create. The age of empire was over. The age of infinite possibility had begun.